Hey brothers, how you doing? What's going on? What's going on, guys? Hey, thank you for actually tuning into us real quick, guys. Guys, we're having a little promptu conversation real quick right now that you're going to absolutely love. You guys have been hearing about Brother Andrew Young coming to town. Well, hey, we got the interviewer that's going to actually be here. We're going to go over a couple of things, guys, and then just give you some bits of what you need to know, to actually get there to be in front of this historic event. All right. Welcome to Gold Table Talk, guys. We'll be right back. Hey, brothers, Beta Nu Lambda. Hey, welcome to Old Gold Table Talk here. I have a special guest on with us today. We are blessed to have a brother, Ernie Suggs. Bro, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, thank you for taking your time out to actually come and actually talk to us, just to give a little overview or peek so that the brothers know why they may want to come to this historic. I call it historic. Did you call it historic? I called it to this historic event. Well, first of all, before we even get into it, let's hear a little bit about yourself, because you're the one that's actually wrote this book. You are an award-winning author, right? Award-winning author. Tell us a little bit about you yourself when you cross. I know that you're Line Brothers with our awesome actual brother, actually Ron Bryson and stuff like. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me today, Brother Hawkins. My name is Ernie Suggs. I am a member of, I am initiate, 1989 initiate in the Gamma Beta chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which is at North Carolina Central University. For those of you who are in the local Charlotte chapter, you may know my line brothers, Ron Brinson and Chris Campbell. Those are my great line brothers. I am a reporter now for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. That's my full-time job. Last week was entering my 26th year here at the paper, covering race and culture and civil rights and all things diversity. And I'm now the author of a book, my first major book, The Many Lives of Andrew Young, about Brother Andrew Young, who pledged at Howard University, the Beta chapter in 1950. His dean of pledgees was Brother David Dinkins, who's the former mayor of New York City. So it's a rich story about, me, a brother, writing about another brother that I've always known and looked up to pretty much all my life. So it's been a great experience doing that. And I'm looking forward to, having this conversation with you and coming to Charlotte and meeting with all the brothers and bringing Brother Young with me to kind of allowing him to share his stories, because he has so many great, rich stories.
That is awesome. That is awesome. What made you start to write about? I mean, we know that Brother Young is awesome. Okay. Mm-hmm. What made you actually pick Brother Young of all of the other actual brothers out there? What was that inspiration?
Well, that's a great question. I moved to Atlanta in 1997. I moved here at the time during a period where I call these people America's second group of founding fathers. And Martin Luther King Jr. obviously was the head of that group. But when I moved here in 1997, you had Coretta Scott King, who was still here, alive, mm-hmm. Hosea Williams, who was still alive, James Orange, who was still alive, Brother Shuttlesworth, who was living in Alabama, was still alive. But you also had Joe Lowry, C.T. Vivian, John Lewis, Andrew Young. All of these people who helped change America in the 1960s was still living here in Atlanta. So me coming here from, small paper in Durham, North Carolina, a young man, I was hired to cover race and culture here. So obviously I'm interacting and meeting with these civil rights figures, getting to know them, getting to understand what they went through, allowing them to mentor me, there's nothing can replace sitting down and having a conversation with Joe Lowry or with John Lewis or with C.T. Vivian, going to C.T. Vivian's house. And one of the things we've all talked about the politics of respectability. You never went to C.T. Vivian's house, no matter what day it was, that he didn't come downstairs with a suit and tie on, because that was the respectability that he had as a person. So in 2020, during the pandemic, and I always say this is a book that I've been writing for 25 years since I moved here.
Okay.
But in 2020, during the pandemic, we lost Joe Lowry in March. We lost John Lewis and C.T. Vivian in July on the same day. C.T. Vivian and Joe Lowry had been approached by me at certain points of their life about writing a book. And Joe Lowry wanted to write his own book. C.T. Vivian had already written books before. He was working on his biography. He was working on another memoir when he died. So the fact that all three of these men died within 2 months of each other kind of reasserted my efforts to try to write a book and tell the story of the civil rights movement. I knew that Brother Young was reaching 90 years old this year. So I said, hey, let's get together. Let's collaborate on a book. And he, understanding his legacy, understanding marketing, even so, said, yeah, I would love to do it. He wrote a book, An Easy Burden, that came out in 1995, which was his autobiography. But this is different. This is a different kind of book. This is a coffee table book. And, biography, I have all these biographies all on my walls here. Biography is a thick book with a lot of words and photographs in the middle. This book is the same thing and has a lot of words in it, but every page is a glossy page of photographs that pretty much illuminates his story, his life story. It goes a step-by-step illustration of who he was from the time he was born in 1932 up until now. So that's where the book is different. And that's where the book, I think, kind of reaches this kind of richness, because it tells this great story, but it also illustrates this great story.
Awesome. Now this book, you are now taking this book and the person that you wrote about in the book, and you're going all across the country, right? Where are you going?
Wow. We've been everywhere. We've been to Washington, D.C., Howard University. We've also been to the Martin Luther King Jr. Museum or Library in Washington, D.C. I just got back from Nashville last week. We're coming to Charlotte, of course. We're going to New Orleans. We're going to Savannah. We're going to Dallas in a couple of days. We've been in Atlanta several times. We're going to Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, which is my hometown, which I'm very excited about. So we've been pretty much everywhere, and we're continuing to go everywhere. Next spring, we're going to embark on kind of a mini college tour. So we're going to come to North Carolina Central University, where I went to school. We're going to go to Alabama A&M, which is, he didn't go to school there, but he met his wife in Alabama. We're going to go to Dillard University, which is where his parents went as straight college, when it was called straight college. So as long as he's willing to go at the age of 90, then I'm going to be with him. So we've been all over the country, and we're continuing.
I love it. What's your goal when you go into different cities and stuff like that? What is your goal of each lesson that you want to actually get across?
Well, I want to tell the story. I think one of the things I want to do in this tour is to kind of tell the story of a Renaissance man, and telling the story of the changing of America through one man. This is a guy who was born in 1932 in segregated New Orleans, who, by the time he got to college, and he went to college because his parents went to college. So he was fortunate enough as a child born in 1932 to be able to know that he was going to go to college at some point. But he grew up in a segregated New Orleans. He went to Howard University, a very fine university. He didn't do very well there. He almost flunked out. He barely graduated, but he found something out in himself once he graduated, that he wanted to be a preacher. He goes to seminary school. He excels in that. He graduates and gets a church. And this is a great thing about Andrew Young, brother Andrew Young, and I call it the many lives of Andrew Young, because he graduates from seminary school and he moves to Georgia to become a preacher. He does that for about 5 years. He leaves that to move to New York City to run a religious organization where he wins the Peabody Award for his work in television. He leaves that in 1960 to move to Atlanta to work for Martin Luther King Jr. After Martin Luther King Jr. is killed in 1968, he runs for Congress, and he becomes a member of the first class of black congressmen in the South since Reconstruction. He leaves that to become the first black UN ambassador to the United States. He leaves that. He gets fired from that, actually. but he leaves that to become the mayor of Atlanta. So you look at, this kid who was born in segregated New Orleans to do all of this stuff in his life. And now he's like, this philanthropist who's like, raising money and giving away millions of dollars, to grow food all over the world. And he's been all over the world, and he's just done so much in his life. So what I hope to get out of the tour is to get that understanding of who he is and who we are as Americans through his story, through his very, very unique story.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And we're excited also that you are stopping here in Charlotte. And I'm going to bring up real quick from the backstage, bring up your line brother who was instrumental in actually helping you to have to come to Charlotte and leading up that one of the brothers of Beta Nu Lambda to actually know. Let me bring up Brother Ron. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Brother Princeton.
I'm good. How are
you?
I
like that portrait right behind you.
Now I know you guys got tons of stories. We're not gonna go to all of y'all stories. It's not about y'all stories on this time, right?
I can't tell most of them.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
But I it's very interesting. I'm listening to Ernie describe Brother Young as a Renaissance man, and it strikes me, at the risk of being too over the top here, Ernie's a bit of a Renaissance man himself. He knows what he's talking about here. I've known him. Ern, what is it? It's got to be 1988.
1988, yeah. We had that big afro and that red Spectrum. Wasn't it a Spectrum?
Yeah, that was it.
Hey, let me say this one thing. So y'all was in Fayetteville in '88.
No, Durham. North Carolina Central in Durham.
In '88.
So
I saw y'all on campus and didn't even. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a very brief. This is less interesting, but a brief description of how we met and know each other and bring it up to modern times. Mm-hmm. So I transferred to North Carolina Central from Albany, from upstate New York. I'm originally from New York, and actually Ernie was born in New York as well. So Ernie was well entrenched and was already a big man on campus when I got there. And I think was well underway, and it was a given that he was going to be a member of the fraternity. I showed up, and we began the process, and I think he and some of the other fellows who turned out to be our line brothers looked around and were kind of, who is this guy? Who is this guy with the New York accent and what was it? I had a leather jacket or something. And the fullness of time, they tell me that that's how they were thinking. I was oblivious to all this. I thought I was the guy. But even back then, Ernie was organized. Ernie was a note taker. Ernie was always the one to be not only self-aware, but aware on behalf of all of us of what was really going on. And you see, as he's able to tell the story of, if you're able to tell a story, that means you observed what really was going on. And he has a keen sense of awareness. And I think that's one of his strengths, and that enables him to be and excel as a storyteller. And that's something that he had even back then. And it carries on to this day. And I see it, and it's just one of the things that, it's a gift. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of the reasons at the core of why I was taken back when he said, hey, we're doing this tour. He had just come back. I think your first one was in DC. Is that right, Ernie?
Well, the first trip, the first event was here at the Carter Center, Jimmy Carter. Then the first trip was in DC.
And yeah, he came back and he started, we were chatting, and he was talking about the plans that he just laid out for you about, what the next year or two look like in conjunction with the book. And I asked him, hey, when you come into Charlotte? because naturally you got to come to Charlotte, the New South and all. And he said, "Oh no, we're not. We don't have it." That was not going to stand.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I was fortunate enough to have some friends and have a Rolodex that helped facilitate what we're going to have on November 3rd.
Awesome. Let's talk about that event. So you
Thank
said
you, Brother
November
Brinson.
the 3rd. So let's actually talk about a little bit about the event so we let the National Brothers actually know where the event is, what's going on, what to look out for, how they can get started. So let's actually go there.
So on November 3rd at Johnson C. Smith University, we are going to have one of these. How are we describing it? A fireside chat? How would you describe the evening that you do, Ernie?
Yeah, I would say a fireside chat. We've done different platforms in different ways, and I think now with the brother who's going to be moderating it, he's going to be talking to both of us, which is a good way to do it, which has been very successful. Other ways in which we've done it is I've interviewed Ambassador Young, or we've had a conversation. But with Dedrick, who's going to be the moderator, I've known Dedrick for a while, and it basically just a conversation, just kind of like him mining Andrew Young's mind of getting stories out of him, just letting him kind of go and tell these great stories of his life for the last 90 years.
And that Dedrick is Dedrick Russell, who is another fraternity brother, and well-known local professional here, media professional here in Charlotte. So that is 6:30 on November 3rd at Johnson C. Smith University. Their tickets are $10 and are available via Eventbrite. And I believe you can find a link through several sources, one of which would be the Beta Nu Lambda public website. In addition, two of our other partners are the Levine Museum of the New South. I believe you can find them there via their web presence, as well as the Gantt Center. Those are the three collaborative partners in this event. And we could not be more excited to host the event. And it's also in conjunction with the Gantt Center and Levine Museum's Men of Change. And I believe, 40 men? Is that the number? Or Persons of Change. I believe it's men, but Persons of Change that they're celebrating. And Andrew Young happens to be one of them. So that was one of the tie-ins when we first presented the concept of having Ernie and Ambassador Young come and do this presentation. They were head over heels excited about it because, hey, it just so happens, hey, he's one of the people we're honoring, and we have him on display. His life's work is one of those that is being honored. And so we also encourage folks to get over to the Gantt Center to look at all the other Persons of Change that are being celebrated.
Awesome. Now, Brother Suggs,
Yes.
so you're going to have the conversation, but you was talking about it actually, you have your book and had a conversation. Are there going to be books there? How can the brothers get books, and what can they expect? Are you guys going to be able to sign some books?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. Generally, what we do is you or the organizer works with my publisher, which that process is going on now. So my publisher is going to get you guys some books. So books are going to be there for people to purchase, and he's going to sign. We're going to sign. We usually sign after the event. Hopefully the brothers can get together for some photographs. But yeah, he wants to sign books. He wants to meet with people. He wants to autograph books. He wants to meet with the brothers. So it's a very, very, a lot of times, I cover a lot of events like this. A lot of times the main person is a bit, once the event's over, his people rush him out and he's gone or whatever. But Andy Young has, throughout this whole tour, he wants to meet people. He's 90 years old and he's on tour all over the country because he wants to meet people and tell stories. So I'm pretty confident that when we come to Charlotte, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to have the books there, or you guys are going to have the books there. We're going to sign them. He's going to shake hands and take photographs and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Speak to our young brothers, Asher, real quick, because we, an area that we have some surrounding undergrad brothers and things like that. To speak to them, Asher, real quick, of why is it important that they may want to be, because again, I call it historic. That's just me talking about, right? Think about, talk to them about why they may want to be there.
Yeah. Okay. So I met Andy Young in 1995, and I pledged in 1989 with Ron, as you know. And when we are pledging, and we're as brothers now, when when we talk about famous brothers who come before us, we always say Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall. Those are the top names we always say. But when you have living legends who are still in the fraternity, as Andrew Young is, so when I met him in 1995. I knew of him as a child, like Ron said, I grew up in New York City. My mother voted for Jimmy Carter in 1976. And I knew that Andrew Young was his ambassador. So, when you're a kid in the 70s, which is still not very far from the 60s and the 50s, you're still looking for Black leaders and Black firsts. So when Jimmy Carter was elected president, he had the first Black UN ambassador as Andrew Young. And I became interested in his life. I knew him as an ambassador before I knew him as a civil rights leader. And he would go on to become the mayor of Atlanta. So when I met him in 1995, it was this great moment of meeting a famous, well-established pillar of Alpha Phi Alpha. So I think now that he's still with us, and these pillars are, we're losing pillars, with COVID still going on, we're at a time now in life where, we have to take these moments seriously. We have to cherish these moments. And we have a brother who pledged in 1950, whose dean of pledges was, David Dinkins, to be there, to be in Charlotte, to be around brothers who wants to meet brothers. This is an opportunity that may never come again. And, he's 90 years old. Who knows how long he's going to be on this tour, how long we're going to be touring, how long he's going to want to tour. So I think for the young brothers out there, this is an opportunity. I mean, every brother that has crossed through our fraternity is special. And, I'm not downplaying anybody's role, but when you have people like Andrew Young, who's seen so much, who's, the name of my book is The Many Lives of Andrew Young, and each of his lives could be a different book. I can write a book about him being the mayor of Atlanta. I can write a book about him being in Congress. I can write a book about him being a UN ambassador. He's done all this stuff. He's done it all. Like Ron said, he's a Renaissance man. So even if he wasn't a brother, the fact that he has accomplished so much in life in 90 short years is incredible in and of himself. And all the things that he's been able to accomplish, he's someone that you would want to meet, someone who you want to hear tell stories. So I would tell the young brothers to be there and to, be there with open ears and open hearts and see this great man.
This is awesome. So, brothers, just to let you have to know again, then, okay, Thursday, November the 3rd at 6:30 at Johnson C. Smith University, okay, that you're going to have an opportunity to basically shake hands and talk to Brother Young, Brother Suggs, get this information. I think it's actually a historic event. It's an awesome thing. Brother Brinson, thank you for actually hooking up, making them come through, making your line brother come through Charlotte. All right, thank you for making your line brother come through Charlotte and stuff.
Hey, Ron gets things done.
Yes, exactly. If you want to go, guys, and get your tickets, go to Eventbrite. The title I'm looking at here is An Evening with Andrew Young. So An Evening with Andrew Young, you can get your tickets there. Guys, go if you want to get your books early. Are they on Amazon? Any books on Amazon?
Yeah, they're on Amazon. Let me just tell you a quick thing. It's on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. If you're not going to be there, if you want to buy the book, you can buy it on Amazon. But there's also a bookseller called Acapella Books. That's 2 words, Acapella Books in Atlanta. They will ship you a book that's already autographed. So if you are not going to be there at the event, or if you want to get a book that's already autographed, you can go get it from Acapella Books. Although Ron has had some. So we won't get into that, but everyone else had a good experience with them.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So, brothers, here you have it, brothers. We're going to have so much conversations, brothers, on November the 3rd at 6:30 at Johnson C. Smith University. Historic place, historic men actually coming in town, guys, in Charlotte. So we are all actually excited about that, guys. Brother Suggs, I'll leave you with that last question. Anything else that you want to actually tell the brothers?
No, I'm just looking forward to meeting everybody. I mean, this is great. I mean, like I said, we've been all over the country. We're going all over the country. But, these events like this, when you're meeting, I mean, it's my home state of North Carolina, New York and North Carolina. So it's almost coming home. And, bringing Andy Young there. And, Andy Young has a very important tie to Charlotte and Kings Mountain in that area. So it's very important for him to come back home, for this event. So he's excited about it. And I'm just excited. It's all part of, being a brother and being a part of the greatest fraternity in the world, and understanding what brotherhood is. Like Ron said, we weren't going to come to Charlotte, and Ron was like, "No, that's not going to happen." And this is my line brother. So he was like, "I'm going to bring you to Charlotte. We're going to bring Andy Young to Charlotte." And I said, "Okay, whatever you can do." And 2 weeks later, he was like, "Here's the deal." So this is what brotherhood's all about. It's what Line Brothers is all about. I'm excited. Ron said, I got a story about Ron. It's true that when he showed up with that afro and that leather coat, we were like, who is this guy? Because like he said, he had come from Albany. He had just transferred. The rest of us were, we were sophomores and juniors. We had grown up together. But I would say this, and this is the great thing about fraternity. From day one, Ron Brinson became one of us. We were all together, and he became, the glue to our line. He's number 2 on the line, and he became the leader of the line. We were already at Central, the leaders of the yard, but once we got online, Ron ran stuff, and it was like, whenever stuff got crazy, stuff can get crazy sometimes. We always look, where's Ron? Because I need to be behind Ron, because Ron is going to make sure that everything's going right, and make sure that we're all protected. And he's always still protecting all of us. So I appreciate you, Ron, for setting this up. I'm looking really, really forward to it. And Andy Young is as well. So it's going to be a really great event.
Yeah, I just thank you. I appreciate that. Just one word, one general word to the brotherhood, and just to be clear. This venue holds about 400, and we, I am personally hoping that we fill it up. This is a public event. Now, I will be happy if we fill it up with 400 members of our fraternity, but this is a public event, and as such, the public will have the opportunity to purchase tickets as well. So let's make sure the fraternity is heavily and well represented. As the young fellas say, I hope I have to say less about that.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, sir. Both of you guys, thank you for the work that you're actually doing. And Alpha people are definitely going to be blessed and going on. So I definitely have to appreciate you guys. So guys, this is another episode of Old Gold Table Talk. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one. It's T-Off, and we're
Thanks,
out.
brothers.
06
All right.
brothers.
06.